What up, guys? Welcome to She-Hulk Episode 4, Attorney at Law's Review. I'm your host, the Son of Wanda, and let's conversationalize. Alright, guys, so we are officially 4 episodes into She-Hulk Attorney at Law, and there is a lot to be gathered from these first 4 episodes as far as the quality of the show is concerned. It's interesting, to say the least. It's a ride, not so sure if it's a fun one. Sort of like a not as crazy going roller coaster, if you've ever been on like a mellow roller coaster. That's kind of what this is. This episode specifically is very weird, like the last one. I don't know how it pertains to the rest of the Marvel Universe. I feel like I've discussed by my previous reviews, everything should be intentional that the company does when they're making content. Everything should be intentional. And I mean, I get that when you're making a show, you have like filler episodes. And I mean, I guess this progresses her story, but I mean, not really. Like, it really does not. The episodes are not really doing anything for her character so far. And we're 4 episodes in. That's kind of a bad sign, if I'm being honest with you guys. So I'll be starting off from beginning to end, reviewing the episode like I've done. And we'll see what kind of diamonds in the rough we find. I'm being sarcastic if you didn't notice. So it starts off with the magician Donnie Blaze hosting a magic show, and he's performing, and the audience doesn't like him, and so he pulls out, like by the suggestion of one of his co-workers, he pulls out a sling ring. At first, when I saw this, I thought that this guy was a magic imitator who stole the sling ring from Kamar-Taj, and it's similar to that, but not really. We find out later that he was actually excommunicated from Kamar-Taj because he hosted a party that involved one of his fraternity brothers. This is what I'm saying. It's not compelling, and I know I sound like a broken record. I get that I sound like a broken record, but that legitimately is not compelling. If you're supposed to get us in, like, don't make a character just for the sake of making him a moron. And this guy, literally, throughout the entire episode, is a buffoon. Now, there are things to this guy's name, specifically Donnie Blaze, or Donnie Blaze for you guys, wrong direction there, that are interesting. Many people were theorizing that he could be the MCU's Ghost Rider because he shares the same last name as the comic book character Johnny Blaze, who is, of course, Ghost Rider. And I would love to see Ghost Rider in the MCU. I think he's a really cool character, but I would love it also if he wasn't an idiot. And since they made this character an idiot in the episode, thankfully he does not seem to be Ghost Rider. He seems to just be some random magic imitator guy who is not very good at his job. So, Crisis Averted, I don't think he's Ghost Rider. If he is, that's a problem. But it is possible. I've also heard theories that he could be related to Ghost Rider. And now that I would enjoy. That might be a nice segue to some of the other MCU characters, and would do something for the Marvel Universe. Unlike the show has been doing. Or contrary to that fact, actually, it has been doing things for the Marvel Universe. It has been taking away things from the Marvel Universe, at least so far. Unless, like in my last review for the ending of episode 3, unless they can turn some stuff around with certain characters like Blonsky, like the possibility of the leader showing up. I said the Riddler in my last review, so not sure how that happened. I got my green villains mixed up. But the leader, if there's a possibility of him showing up and a possibility of Blonsky still faking it, then fine, there will be some good writing. And I mentioned how there was good writing in the first episode, but it hasn't been consistent, so there's that. So moving on, Donnie Blaze opens the sling ring portal, gets some drunk party girl on to his stage, and opens a portal behind her, and then the next thing we know, we're seeing Wong sitting down to watch the TV show The Sopranos, I assume at Kamar-Taj, and the girl ends up in his room via another portal and is holding what appears to be a heart. If I'm not mistaken, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's a heart, which is kind of disconcerting. She says that she was trapped in a realm with a bunch of goblins, and she asks him if he's the Goblin King. And I don't already. That's the beginning of the episode. That's literally not even like maybe the first 5 minutes. Okay, I mean, I'm fine with imagination and being eccentric, but like, what are we doing? Like, it's a very weird way to begin an episode. Like, and it's kind of disappointing because they're at the very, very beginning. Like, you have this guitar kind of theme going on, and like they're panning across the city, and that was cool. I was enjoying that. I was like, hey, this is actually a good vibe. Like, this is cool. And then it goes into the magician thing, and it's like, what? Why are we here? Anyway, she's at Wong's place, and then she talks about how she made friends with a talking goat, and the goat helped her escape for, I believe it was 6 drops of her blood. Yeah, and then she spoils the show for Wong, and then Wong's like, oh, Donnie Blaze is going to pay for this, because I guess he knows that Donnie Blaze has been doing stuff, which I'm not sure why he didn't intervene earlier. That's kind of a bit of a plot hole. Like, if you knew this guy was around, why didn't you do something about it previously? I have no idea. So, yeah, that's the beginning of the episode. May the Force be with us. Moving on. Back to Jennifer Walters. We end up visiting Jennifer Walters at her home in big, baggy She-Hulk clothing, even though she's not in She-Hulk form, so it appears big and baggy. And she's visited by her father, who is aware of the incident that took place in the ending of the last episode, and he wants to try to put security in the house or whatever and make sure that she's protected, which, I mean, I'm glad that they were able to show a father being protective of his daughter. I think that is a nice sentiment. I appreciate that. He's genuinely caring, and so I enjoy, and it helps that he's Larry from Perfect Strangers, so that's a bonus for me at least. But he's protective, and that's nice. But she says she didn't call the police and that she could just She-Hulk out and kick their butts if the Wrecking Crew ever show back up. And that whole idea is a little like, I get that you're a superhero, but I feel like it'd be wise to call the police. I mean, I guess her argument is valid that they probably just say they can't find him anyway. But I mean, she doesn't like know that, so I don't know. It just seems like maybe like a normal person, even though she's not really a normal person, would think to at least tell somebody, like, other than her dad about it. Anyway, we move to her in her office, establishing her dating profile, and which is like a plot point continued in the episode. Then she's looking at her interview that she had on the news from the last episode. She's looking at it again, and then Wong shows up behind her and tells her about Donnie Blaze, and he explains to her that even the slightest tampering with the mystic arts when one is not trained can literally destabilize the space-time continuum, like destabilize reality. Has the potential. And I feel like his argument is quite valid, because he just experienced Multiverse of Madness. I've not seen that film, but I know largely what happens, and if he's, witnessed some of the crazy stuff in that movie, he has major cause to be concerned. He was there for everything that happened in the first Doctor Strange movie, and I mean, he's just seen time and time and again how magic, just power in general, can just disturb everything. Infinity War, Endgame with the Infinity Stones, even though those aren't magic, he still is very aware. Now, the reason I emphasize that plot point is that's a very serious matter, and it's not like it's coming from a guy who is completely inexperienced, doesn't know what he's talking about, and could be just disregarded as a fool. This is Wong. This is the Sorcerer Supreme. He knows mess. Like I said, he's seen some stuff. So he is perfectly valid in what he's trying to communicate. Now, Jennifer Walters She-Hulk goes over the, we'll need some certain paperwork, or did they sign this, and did they sign that? And then, actually, I ate my words from the last video, because from the last video, I gotta get the direction right for you guys. Anyway, I ate my words from the last video that they didn't have the same scene in the trailers where he mentions the Book of Ashanti and then she says Book of American Laws and he goes, I thought that was funny, but they didn't have it in the last episode. I assumed that was going to be Wong's only cameo. I didn't know he was going to be in this episode again, so they had the scene in this episode. So I ate my words. I apologize. I take full responsibility. Goes to show you never know what could still come. I guess at least Marvel has still achieved the prospect of being unpredictable. This show is definitely unpredictable, sometimes not in the best way. And so she decides to help Wong in this endeavor of his to try to keep this Donnie Blaze guy from causing any more trouble and putting people in any more weird situations. And it is revealed that she is his official lawyer, because Wong calls her his lawyer. I didn't really gather that from the last episode, but I do think it's cool that they are establishing that she is becoming the lawyer for multiple different people and is slowly becoming the official lawyer for more super people, because, you know, that does help further establish the world, and that does help further connect things. So I at least appreciate that there is that connective tissue. And so she continues aiding Wong in that endeavor, while simultaneously hanging out with her friend, her best friend, Nikki, at a bar, discussing work and also discussing her dating profile. And this is where my crux with the show comes into play, one of my main cruxes. I have to say it because it is one of the main negative gripes I have with the show. It literally does not hesitate to present a dude as stupid, like insulting of women or just being pushy or whatever. Literally in the middle of the conversation that Jennifer Walters and her best friend have in the bar, there's this guy that comes up and says, "Wow, it's a shame to see you two such stunning women alone." And then the best friend goes, "Oh, well, we're two of us, so we're not alone." And then he continues on, and he's like, "Well, you're such sexy ladies. Would you like to join me for a drink?" And again, it's like, yes, drunk people would do this, I suppose, maybe. But I don't think a normal dude who is cognizant, who has a brain, and I get that there are a lot of dudes without brains out there, but there are also a lot of women without brains out there. People in general, there's plenty of them that have brains but don't use them. But they seem to be heck bent in this show on making it look like the dudes primarily don't have a brain, to the extent that they are willing to ask random ladies and say, "Wow, you're so sexy, have a drink with me." I'm like, it's such a caricature. It is a overblown representation of dudes who want to talk to girls. I don't know. It's weird, and they just keep doing it. And then later in the show, when she's dating one of the dudes, he's completely uncaring. He has no regard for what she's saying. He doesn't want to hear about what she has to say about her life, and he just kind of just leaves. And that makes you wonder, like, what is the exact purpose of him going to date her if he was just gonna leave? It's just like the show, so much of it doesn't make sense. It does not abide by the general workings of society. It does not flow properly because of that. Anyway, and after the guy has left, Nikki makes a suggestion to Jen that she should change her profile to She-Hulk, because Jennifer Walters just made her picture as Jennifer Walters and not She-Hulk. Nikki thinks she should make it to She-Hulk and that she would get a lot of matches on the dating profile. And Jennifer Walters doesn't want to. Cut to her being with Wong, talking to Donnie Blaze and his magician friend how they should stop doing what they're doing. In short, they don't want to do it. And honestly, it's like there was a moment where the scene could have gotten like good, but then they just kind of cut it out. Like there's a moment where Donnie Blaze is trying to challenge Wong or whatever, and Wong's like, "Sorcerer Supremes do not indulge in competition," but Wong starts to kind of show him the magical powers nonetheless. And I would have loved to have seen Wong show up this guy who's being an idiot and being a jerk about, you know, this magic stuff that's really important, and I would have loved Wong to teach him a lesson. But then Jennifer Walters cuts them out because, you know, it's the one payoff we could have gotten that would have been amusing. They kind of just cut out. Anyway, the only thing we really see is like Wong start to do something, and later he like does something with his ear and then like pulls the ball. He makes the ball come out of his mouth that I guess was there earlier in the scene. And so they decide to take it to court. This episode, again, not a lot going on here. The tension of the last episode with the Wrecking Crew, that's not continued. It's mentioned and then ratted off. The tension of the boss, not continued. And yeah, we're not doing great. Anyway, goes to court. They're trying to convince the judge that the magic that this Donnie Blaze guy is using is very dangerous to people. And again, it's a very simple and valid argument that makes total sense in a world that has had superheroes in it for a long time, especially now that I'm aware that Doctor Strange is like an icon. That's a valid issue, but they're somehow still having trouble getting the judge to comply with that, so they bring in that drunk party lady from earlier in the episode as a witness, which I don't really know anything about the the actual workings of courtrooms that much. I know about the district attorney, and I know about the prosecutor, and there's lawyers and all that. But I do know this. In an actual court of law, there is no way that a random woman just walking in through some magical portal who is drunk would be allowed to testify in court on a matter of probable world-ending, world-altering issues. That is mind-boggling. No, I refuse to accept it. Lapses in logic. I get that this is supposed to be a comedy show, but it really wasn't making me laugh. And instead of coming across as humorous, it just comes across as dumb. So much of this show, like the Lighthouse plotline in the last episode, just comes across as stupid because it honestly is. And the trouble is, I don't think the writers know that. And if they know that, they still put it out there. They put it in the episode, which you can't earn my respect as a writer if you continue to make dumb decisions like this in writing. Because I care about story. I care about story done correctly and story thought through. This says none of that. Anyway, they bring her in as a witness. She talks about how her venture into the Goblin Land, and she says that a demon named Jake helped her, which I assume is the talking goat she was referring to earlier. And I have yet to see Thor: Love and Thunder. I know there were goats in it that I believe talked. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But I doubt that's what she's talking about. And so, yeah, I honestly don't know who this could be. There's several demon-type characters in Marvel. There's a character called Chthon. There's Mephisto. And I know that there are going to be other theories on YouTube that people will say, oh, that's Mephisto. They always want to jump on the train of Mephisto ever since WandaVision. A lot of people do it for jokes, but some people do it because they genuinely believe that he could still be a player, which he could be. You never know with Marvel. Like I said, they still have maintained their unpredictability. But yeah, I have no idea what that entails. And she said it was a fire world, which was interesting. One of the only fire worlds I'm aware of in Marvel is Muspelheim, one of the 9 realms, the domain of Surtur, the demon. But I doubt it would be that because, it was a magic portal, and Muspelheim is more of like in the Asgard type magic than it is in like something that a sling ring would lead you to. I believe the Dark Dimension, Dormammu's domain, has also been depicted as being a fiery place, but it was not depicted like that in the MCU, so I doubt that's what they're talking about. So I really am not sure. Either way, she continues on about it. Wong and She-Hulk discovers that bringing her in as a witness was not such a good idea. Big surprise there. And this is the part. The opposing, Donnie Blaze and his lawyer, who I guess is also trying to be a magician or something, and then his co-worker, they're trying to woo the judge with magic. And the worst part is that they eventually succeed. Jin and Wong, Wong, first of all, has a speech that he gives about the dangers of this practice. He is a valid source of information. His title is literally the Master of the Mystic Arts. This is a clearly low-level magician that he is facing, that he is opposing in court, who is pulling the cloth and whatever and trying to make things disappear when Wong can literally form weapons out of the air. Power level differences. And Wong is making a speech that is valid, that is good. And then you have the one co-worker sleeping over here, and then they kind of just undermine the fact that, what he said was valid. It didn't work because the judge doesn't really listen to that. And then Donnie Blaze makes a rabbit appear, and the judge is literally goes, I won't restrict his ability to use magic until we come to a decision. I'll just let him keep using magic because a bunny is cute. What the bullness? What is that? What was that? And I mean, maybe some of you don't see that as such a big offense, but I do because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. No judge, no self-respecting judge, in any case, would see a rabbit, mind yourselves, they're supposed to be non-biased, would see a rabbit and go, he doesn't have to do that. Having heard a rousing argument from Wong about the dangers of this mess, And she just like, oh, Rabbit is cute. I don't care what Wong says. We'll go with, he can keep using magic for now. Master of the Mystic Arts. Low-level, low-grade magician. Who is kicked out. It doesn't make sense. And this is to the extent that a lawyer show can be written. I have been recently I started watching Daredevil, the Netflix show. I had never watched it before. I had always heard how good it was. I had always known that it had such great acclaim, and so I've been watching it. I'm 4 episodes in, maybe less than that. I haven't finished the 4th one yet. And I love that show. That is a great show. It is a well-written show. The plot points are well thought out. You care about every single character. It's phenomenal. And it's a lawyer show. And it's a superhero lawyer show. Is there another superhero lawyer show that exists? I'm not aware of any. Oh, right. Yeah, She-Hulk exists. This show is not even anywhere close to the lawyer show or just show in general caliber of Daredevil. And yes, I get that Daredevil has a lot going for it because it is meant to be like intensely more serious than She-Hulk, and She-Hulk is supposed to be a comedy. But it's not even a good comedy. Like I said, it didn't make me laugh. And I know one example of a comedy about superheroes that you can do great and make it compelling, but also still making it funny, is Guardians of the Galaxy. Made also by the Marvel company, creating the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Same company. Like, you would think that, like, honestly, I think maybe James Gunn should have directed this show, or like, but no, it's not good comedy, it's not a compelling narrative. Everything that their previous MCU projects shined at, this is mostly not. Other than a few MCU connections here and there that are nice. And some good acting. I already have given it those props. But anything else is just tattered by plot holes and mess. And the unfortunate part is that not unfortunate, I am looking forward to seeing him, but still, it is kind of scary that Daredevil, we know, spoilers, I guess spoilers, but it showed up in the trailer, so warning, Daredevil will be appearing in She-Hulk later down the line, and we don't know, we haven't seen his appearance yet, so we don't know what it's going to be like, but based on the track record of this show, and how it's treating the characters, such respect, not really. And having seen the first episodes of the actual Daredevil show, no, I'm scared for the future. Because Charlie Cox is Daredevil, Charlie Cox is Matt Murdock. In this show, he is great. He is forthright. He understands things. He's not a moron. I am begging Marvel at this point to spare him the treatment that they have been imparting upon these other characters, Blonsky, Wong, Hulk, because Hulk was kind of dissed by She-Hulk in the first episode. After all the trauma and trial he went through, she says she can control her anger far more than he can when, all sorts of stuff has happened to him. Been on the run from the government, all sorts of things. And I've seen other people point those things out, which I didn't feel when I watched the episode first, and I think it was because I was excited to see something new MCU, because I hadn't seen a new MCU project in a while, not since No Way Home. But that is a very valid point that other people have brought up. Hulk was traumatized several times, and then she was making it sound like he wasn't traumatized, and she called him a cautionary tale. That's bad. That's not nice. And she doesn't make an actual apology for it. And so, with the not great treatment of Hulk, the not great treatment of Abomination so far, and Wong kind of disrespecting his authority as master of magic. I have very big concerns about Daredevil, who is a far superior and much more well-written character than really any of the characters in this show. By himself, has an infinitely more well-written show. And the tones do not match at all. Having seen the Daredevil show, the literally deadly serious tone of that show, emphasis on deadly, and then having seen this attempt at comedy, the tones, I am very curious how that's gonna play out, because the tones of the characters, they don't mesh at all. They're not even the same universe. They're supposed to be both taking place in Marvel. I mean, I don't know if they've confirmed that the Daredevil show is canon yet. It would only be assumed that it is, I would think, because they've announced the Daredevil Born Again series, and that series, Charlie Cox is Daredevil, Vincent D'Onofrio is Kingpin. They're also going to show up in Echo. That series coming out later, from the character established in Hawkeye. And so, yeah, sure, they take place in the same universe, but not tonally. Not superficially, they don't. Oh, boy. Anyway, so we have the horrible courtroom scene, possibly worse than the Light Elf one. That Elf one was pretty bad. Okay, maybe this one's still better because that one was bad, but the writing in this one is terrible. Now we are looking at Jennifer Walters' dating life. She has that first experience with that one guy that was terrible, like I said before, and then she realizes that she's not getting any matches on her profile, so she changes her profile to She-Hulk like her best friend said to do, and then she gets a ton of matches, and I guess goes on, I'm not really sure how that worked, she's wearing the same dress and at the same restaurant the whole time, almost interviewing all these different dudes. I don't know if she all did this in one night. I don't really know. And so the basic problem is that most of the guys are either self-centered. It's kind of interesting because there's one guy who's very interested in her, can she take a beating? How powerful is she and all that? He mentioned some Marvel shoutouts, can vibranium hurt you or something? That's kind of interesting because he's a very unassuming guy. I don't know if that's going to come up later. It is kind of an interesting plot point to see. Maybe he's a spy or something. At least that would have some tension. Anyway, she's going through the dudes, and then she meets this doctor who's doesn't want to. He says he hates talking about himself, so he wants to hear about her. And then I guess that's an immediate sign that she can just take him home, and they can start kissing each other. Meanwhile, Donnie Blaze is doing his magic thing. He gets another girl volunteer to go through one of his portals, but she doesn't want to do it because she possibly might be the only smart character in the show. And so he nixes that idea and then forms a bird out of nowhere. The bird lays an egg in the girl's hand, and sure enough hatches a demon. And I guess that makes sense because supposedly if you deduce that, like Wong has been saying this entire episode, nobody's listening to him other than She-Hulk, I guess, that Donnie Blaze is fiddling with the mystic arts and the darker things that could come from that. I suppose if he magically create a bird, it might give birth to a demon if he's not doing the mystic arts in the right way and not in the safest way. I suppose I can, it's comic book logic, I guess. So I guess that's fair. It's insanely weird, but I guess it's fair. I don't know. Anyway, dude opens a portal because the demon is hatching and going crazy, and then he opens a portal in the floor and kicks the demon into it, and he didn't close it. And this is where I was really worried. I'm wow, you seriously, the only reason you, any other logical person would immediately close the portal, but you seriously, and he doesn't seem concerned about it at all. Later, Wong says that the portal was damaged, so he needed to fix it. And, okay, sure. Again, established in the episode, tampering with the mystic arts in the wrong ways is bad. It can hurt things, so fine. Disturbed portal, stayed open. But the fact that the Donnie Blaze does not even seem concerned with the fact that it's still open, that also is just like a level of stupidity of the characters that is just kind of unforgivable. It's like any other character with a mind who has a soul and a spirit would know could close the stinking portal, or at least be worried about it. Anyway, he alerts Wong because a bunch of demons start popping out, disturbing the whole place, and going crazy and attacking everything. And he alerts Wong, and Wong's like, okay, I have to get my order. Jennifer Walters, as She-Hulk, is about to kiss her date, and Wong opens a portal because he's been trying to call her, and she hasn't been answering. And he's like, why haven't you been answering? And he's like, oh, I see why. And there was one line that did make me laugh where he was like, oh my gosh, I feel like your dad. That line did make me laugh because it was true. And so she ends up, she goes through the portal to help Wong destroy the demons. And Wong, she's like, what am I supposed to do? And he's like, be a Hulk. And I enjoyed that line as well. So there is some sight stuff from Wong. Like, I like how he keeps telling her, like, focus. It's there's demons, we gotta fight them. When she's still thinking about her date, which, I mean, I like the general idea, like, she's just talking about her date, and she wants to have her, life, and she doesn't want to be fighting all these creatures. So that's understandable. I was liking that banter. It's kind of a similar issue like that Spider-Man has had, where he wants to be dating this girl or whatever, and, a superhero interrupts it. So that plot point is nice. Anyway, so she starts destroying the demons, and I guess she calls it goo, but it's essentially demon blood starts coming out, but discovers that she discovers that the demons can't die. So anyway, she starts getting covered in demon guts, and then they eventually get all the stuff. Wong fixes the portal, turns it into a whip, uses it to take some demons into another portal, which is into an ice portal. I guess that's for the purpose of, if that's like an ice realm, maybe it's for the purpose of destroying the demons, because it looked like the demons were coming out of a fire realm like the drunk girl mentioned earlier. Sure, let's go with that. And then they come out of the portal. Go into the portal, flush them down the toilet, and that's it. And she ends up dropping back on the dude in her couch after the portal opens, because she's come back. And she picks him up. They don't show anything what happens after that. He stays overnight. If I'm being totally honest with you guys, I would not want to be kissing a woman who has just gotten demon guts all over her. There's even a moment where the guy's like, you got something right here, and she takes it off. And it's very, it's kind of makes my stomach a little queasy, because that's disgusting. I would hope any woman would have the decency to shower beforehand. Again, it's like a nitpick, but also it's like, it's logical. It's gross. Anyway, he stays overnight. He wanders in the living room. He's like, who are you? Because she's reverted back to her Jen Walters form. And then, I guess upon her telling him that she's the same person, he's like, oh, I'm just going to go now. So one of the few, other than, I guess, Pug, and maybe Wong, even though he was still disrespected, one of the few male characters who seem to be nice is now kind of turned back into a jerk, because I guess he only liked her because she was She-Hulk. Which, I mean, if we're being honest, when you really look at it, Jennifer Walters and She-Hulk do kind of act like different people. Obviously, they look completely different, but Jennifer Walters is a lot more mild-mannered, a lot less forthright, and She-Hulk is incredibly confident, and it does have a different personality. So, I mean, I feel like the problems he has with, I guess, that and like he wants to leave, I guess they're justified, because they really are two different people. It is, obviously mean of him to just leave and not even talk about it, or like, I feel like it's clear that he would have known that's what she was, like she could transform from human form to She-Hulk form. Again, it's just the writing, it does not go nearly deep enough to explain this stuff. Not well. A little bit before that, she was watching the news, because she got a text from her best friend that said that Titania, who they keep calling her an influencer, like a super influencer, a super person influencer. She's confident that the controversy surrounding her attacking the jury in the first episode would go away. And then the real big, I guess, reveal of the episode at the end of it is the most riveting. the most exciting plot point we could ever have in any show. Brace yourselves, put your seatbelts on. Jen Walters is going to be prosecuted for having the name She-Hulk because Titania is saying that name is trademarked by her somehow. My assumption is, and I just thought of this, that Titania is going to try and make an argument for the sake of her legal issues that because she was the person to instigate the fight with She-Hulk to have that inadvertently made Jennifer Walters reveal herself as She-Hulk in the first place, and none of that would have happened if Titania did not intervene, and She-Hulk would have not been revealed to the public, and and nobody would have given her the name She-Hulk. I am assuming that's going to be Titania's argument. The next episode, I guess, is going to be a riveting court drama story, not drama, but court story, about how Jennifer Walters is going to get out of this predicament of having her name be illegally trademarked or whatever. It's not exciting, it's not attention grabbing at all. This is the 4th episode. And what was even more frustrating is even though the last episode was really not good at all, you still ended on a high note with the curiosity of the wrecking crew and why they're trying to get her blood and the possibility of this mystery guy, maybe the leader. So that they ended on a high note. And I even mentioned how she looked in the mirror in her car, and I was wondering if she's gonna try to start to finally realize that, oh man, maybe I need to be a superhero because I'm getting attacked more often or whatever. Maybe Bruce Banner was right. They even put it in the recap for the beginning of this episode, of episode 4, in the previously on. They even put the scene where Bruce Banner even explains how being a Hulk kind of means being a superhero. And so, yeah, that's the ending of the episode. She's like, oh man, that's a crappy way to end the episode. And the post-credit scene is Wong hanging out with the drunk girl talking about alcohol. When that's the ending of the episode, when that's the cliffhanger you leave it on to grab the attention of the viewers for future, it's not good. No one cares about a She-Hulk trademark name thing. I have lots of contentions with this show. And it's only gotten worse and worse and worse. And unfortunately, I think until they can prove to me that the writing can get good or turn around or whatever, if they treat Daredevil right, until then, it's a here. Between the caricatures of the dudes, making them look like idiots, I mean, I guess in all fairness, they did make the drunk girl pretty idiotic, but still, it's been very consistent with the dudes. I guess except for Pug, like I mentioned in the last video. And so, yeah, between that's the consistency, between the bad writing, between the plot holes, I guess I'll have one final good note and then one final bad note to end the review. There was a point early in the episode that did make me laugh where Jennifer Walters breaks the fourth wall in the beginning of the episode and talks about how, hey, you guys look excited. Did you just see Wong? It is nice. She says that Wong provides the show some Twitter armor for the next week or whatever. I thought that was funny. That Marvel is kind of aware that the show will probably get roasted. So maybe Wong being there can add some levity to that, or add some cushion from the roasting, make it not an entire Thanksgiving turkey roast. Anyway, this one, if you know how to make a quality show, this is a problem. And I did check, I went back and I made sure I was correct in what my assumption was, and I was. There is a moment, and it's in the scene where Jennifer Walters is talking to her friend in the bar. And there's a moment where they're talking, and the camera is on Nikki, her best friend, talking to her. And and then it pans away, from the back of her head at Jennifer's face, and then it pans there, and she's still talking, and then she says the last word of her sentence when the camera pans back to her face, but her mouth is closed, and yet the last word is still audible. It's like the word be, like something to be or whatever. But her mouth is closed, but the word is still audible. Now, you guys are probably rolling your eyes at this point, like, wow, you're concerned about that? That's kind of sad. I'm being serious here. In the old cartoons of like the 70s and the 60s and whatnot, there were plenty of mistakes like that, where somebody would be talking but their mouth wouldn't be moving. Those are problems of cartoons, problems of animation. Understandable. Given leeway to that. That never happens, not that I'm aware, in live action shows. And if the editors allowed that mistake, because you can't tell me they didn't notice it. If the editors allow the mistake, that shows the quality of the editors. If they are unconcerned with that little bit of like, oh, just leave it there, it'll be fine, nobody will notice. If they're unconcerned with that, then that means that they're unconcerned with I feel like that means that they're unconcerned with the reputation of the show, because it's that kind of stuff that just shows simple quality. Whether you can get the dialogue to match what their mouths are saying. Like that editing mistake is a little like, and it might not be such a bad thing if that was the only mistake of the show. But given the consistent writing problems and given the consistent everything problems, then, you know, then that kind of just is the nail in the coffin for me. So that's my review of She-Hulk episode 4. Boy, was that a wild ride. I think, honestly, the review, just talking about the weirdness of the episode, was more actually tension building than the actual episode itself. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for, listening to my spiels every week. Those of you who watch, thank you for tuning into the Son of Wanda. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Not Bolton, don't know what that is or who that is. Don't forget to hit the bell for notifications. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. May the Lord be with you. May the Force be with you. A goodbye.